Broadcasting across the nation, on your radio, and on Current TV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Breaking news, another top general, the top general in Afghanistan, now involved in the General Petraeus sex scandal. Does this sound like a new TV series? Good morning, everybody. It's the Full Court Press. This is not Sex in the City. It is not Access Hollywood. It's the Full Court Press here this Tuesday morning, November 13th. So good to see you today. Thank you for joining us. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, bringing you up to date on the big stories of the day, and, of course, giving you a chance to get involved in the conversation in many, many different ways. On Twitter, follow us at BP Show. On Facebook, facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Join the chat room at current.com or give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. You're going to want to call in this hour because we have with us as a friend of Bill in this hour, a real friend of Bill and a real friend of the program, Eric Burns, who heads Bullfight Strategies with Carl Frisch. Hello, Eric. Good to see you this morning.
Hello. Doing great, Bill. Good to be here. I'm glad to know I'm one of your real friends, not one of those fake friends of Bill.
That's right.
Like those other folks that come
on. Exactly. And, you know, we knew we were going to be talking about the latest in the sex scandal today, so we wanted to have, you know.
Look, I'm all up on Justin Bieber and what's going on in his love life. And, wait, are we not? Well, you meant the director of the CIA.
Justin Bieber could end up being involved in this. I mean,
who knows, right? At
That's
this
right.
point.
We just wanted one of the sexiest men alive to come in and talk about the sex scandal here this morning. So,
all right.
Thank you.
Let me know when he comes in.
Yeah. By the way, we did learn now. We know. We were all wondering. It was a week ago today. President Obama scored this a spectacular victory. How did he do it? How did he rack up such a big win? Well, the nation's premier political strategist, Grover Norquist, yesterday, he unveiled Obama's secret. Here he is.
The president was committed, elected on the basis that he was not Romney and that Romney was a poopy head, and you should vote against Romney. And he won by 2 points.
There it is. Romney's a poopy head.
A poopy head.
That's how.
Deep political analysis.
Yes. Yeah. I wonder if they poll tested that. I wonder how much money Rove spent to test that messaging right there.
But somehow I missed. Was it during one of the debates that Obama called him a poopy head? I could just see Obama say, "Mitt, you're a poopy head."
Yeah, or just Mr. You can get him like Mr. Poopy Head dolls for Mitt Romney. These guys are unbelievable. What a clown car!
It sounds like something my 4-year-old grandson Milo might say to his brother.
Poopy head.
Yeah.
Poopy head.
Grover Poopy Head Norquist. Grover Norquist is the poopy head if anybody is.
You know what? Amen to that.
I'm telling you.
I'll say that. So we got a lot coming up this hour. Congressman Peter Welch from Vermont is going to be joining Eric and me at the half hour here to talk about the fiscal cliff negotiations coming up. And in the next hour, something very exciting. We've never done this before. We're going to devote the entire hour to one very exciting program that I've been familiar with for quite a while, very impressed by, and that's the White House Fellows Program. And you're going to get to meet the director of the program, 3 young men and women who are White House Fellows this year with remarkable careers, and find out what it's all about and how maybe you might get involved in it. We'll do that in the next hour together, and Eric Burns and I will dive right into the issues. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
Yes, other headlines making news on this Tuesday. Mitt Romney's failed presidential campaign has refocused its website to try and get rid of all their campaign swag, hats, T-shirts, buttons, mugs. But here's the thing, none of it...
Fire sale.
No, that's the thing. None of it is on sale. It's going all for full price. They have not discounted the losing merchandise.
Oh, yeah, boy, it's just what I want, a Romney T-shirt.
Yeah.
Full price.
Full price.
Yeah.
Not double the price. So, hey, it's going to be a collector's item one day.
Exactly, and that money, of course, goes to the fund that now has a pretty funny name. Romney Victory is the name.
Romney Victory Fund. Oh,
Yeah.
Carl Rove running this operation.
Sports.
That's another loser.
The baseball.
That's another poopy head.
Yeah.
In fact, Bush called him a turd blossom.
I know, but I don't know that he's blossoming anymore. I think he's just a stale turd.
He's still a turd.
In sports, the Baseball Writers Association named this year's Rookies of the Year yesterday, and fans on both coasts of our nation should be happy. The National League Award went to Bryce Harper, outfielder for the Washington Nationals. He hit 22 home runs, second most ever for a teenager in the league. And we head west for the American League rookie. That's Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim outfielder Mike Trout. He takes the crown. He had the most steals out of anyone for the season and the second best batting average, hitting .326 in just his first season.
All right. Good for the Nats.
Good for the Nats. I was going to say, yeah, especially teenager.
Absolutely, yeah. And he was 19. He's 20 now. A teenager, no more. And the love letters written to the woman who was the inspiration for the hit Rolling Stones song "Brown Sugar" are headed to auction. CBS tells us that the notes that Mick Jagger wrote to his former lover, Marcia Hunt, are going to Sotheby's to be auctioned off. It's a set of 10 letters detailing their delicate love affair around 1970. Will likely fetch well over $100,000.
Why would he be selling those? Or she's selling those, I guess, right? I guess.
Yeah, they're in some collection or some attic or whatever. Yeah, and they're going to the auction block. So if you want the steamy details.
Or did he call her brown sugar in the letters?
I don't know. You'll have to buy them for $100,000 and read
and find out.
Well, this makes me wonder what General Petraeus' emails would sell for.
All right, that's interesting.
All right, before we get, so do we have to start there? I don't know. I want to start on something else. The story that I find most intriguing this morning, Eric Burns, is you're married.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Does Maria drive?
Oh, that's one word for it. Yes, she does.
Oh.
She does. No, actually, look, she's a fantastic driver. She's like Mario Andretti when she's alone in the car. When I'm in the car or when anyone's in the car with her, then I fear for my life because she's often distracted.
Oh, all right.
But she's actually she's a very good driver.
You better be careful what you say here because I know she's watching. But at any rate, there is a story out this morning that for the first time in this country, there are more female drivers than male drivers on the road.
Yes.
Which I think is significant, and I think it's good news. I mean, I think overall, women are better drivers than men.
Yeah, I
Don't
think
you agree?
More cautious,
Yeah,
more responsible. According to the article, more interested in environmentally.
They just feel the power and the macho.
I do.
And they'll drive faster and a little more reckless.
Yeah.
Women have fewer. It's shown women have fewer accidents than men. So they're better drivers. And they buy smarter cars. They're more likely to go out and get a fuel efficient car, a Prius or a hybrid or something like that.
They're not going to be
smaller cars. They're not going to find these great big cars. You have to show how big your what is by the size car you drive, right?
Yeah.
So I think overall this is good for America's highways.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I was thinking as I was reading the article how interesting it was that when I was in high school, I recall there being, just kind of a prejudice, that this notion that women can't drive.
Yeah,
I mean, I made a joke about my wife, but obviously not seriously.
Hope not.
No, she's.
And by the way, jokes about women drivers are legion, right?
Yes.
I mean, legend or whatever. I mean, there's so many of them, right?
Yes. Now, I will say that with my wife and my mom, both of them, they don't like to change the oil in their cars. That's I've been told that's my job, but I'm from Texas, and so they do things a little different down there. They have speed limits.
They probably don't
now.
like to change a flat tire too. But today, with the cars the way they are, the last time I got a flat tire, I had to change a tire. I mean, years and years, right? I mean, it just doesn't happen as much anymore.
Sure. So you and I are going to be changing more tires and getting more oil changes, which is probably a good thing.
Anyhow, I think it's a good development in this country.
Absolutely.
All right, so now the latest. We have now. It's announced. This just broke this morning that another general's involved in this Petraeus scandal. We know. So General Petraeus resigned. He was having an affair with Paula Broadwell. This whole thing came out because a woman by the name of Jill Kelley in Tampa was also had some sort of a relationship with General Petraeus. Paula finds out about this. She's jealous, this big love triangle. She starts sending hateful emails to Jill Kelley in Tampa. The FBI gets involved, and it becomes known that Petraeus has an affair, so he resigns. Now we find out that the top general who took Petraeus' place in Afghanistan, John R. Allen, has also been having at least an email relationship with the same Jill Kelley from Tampa, Florida. And he has released, ready for this, 20 to 30,000 pages of inappropriate emails that he had with this woman, Jill Kelley from Tampa.
My Lord.
What the hell's going on?
Well,
have you ever sent 20,000 pages of emails in your life?
No, I can't even imagine going through 20,000 pages of email that had already been sent, let alone releasing them to the world.
And Fox News is saying 30,000, so they're taking the 20 to 30, the upper.
Yeah, it'll be 150,000 by the end of the week.
He's supposed to be running the war in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I mean, the time, I mean, clearly he wasn't running the war in Afghanistan. He spent the last 2 months going through emails.
Yeah.
I mean, let's assume he has a staff of attorneys that have done that.
So it does make you wonder what the hell these guys are doing and how they have time for this. We don't know that they actually were having an affair. You know, we also don't think that Petraeus is having an affair with Jill Kelley. Maybe she wanted to, maybe he wanted to, but Paula Broadwell certainly thought something was cooking up there.
Yeah.
Now all the time, she's cheating on Petraeus by sending all these emails to. Here's the deal, though. It's so messy. It's so sloppy. It is like a TV series.
Yeah, I was going to say it does feel like Access Hollywood. I mean,
doesn't it?
It really does, and it's a shame. I mean, it's that we're talking about this.
Should Petraeus have had to resign, or should he have resigned?
Well, you know, look, I think.
But everybody's got an opinion, so you can whatever it is. It's either right or wrong, but it's your opinion.
I don't like what he did. Obviously, do I think he should have had to resign? Not necessarily. He chose to resign, and I certainly respect that decision, especially coming from the military and their code of justice for an officer. Now he was not in the military anymore. I don't like the fact that the FBI was investigating him. I think that's odd.
Bingo.
You know, I mean, this reminds me of like J. Edgar Hoover type stuff, which I'm not suggesting that it was, and I don't know all the facts. And then this whole, but this is a big cover-up for Benghazi. That's what really kind of bothers me. I mean, I feel like somebody could discover a Yeti in the northern forests up in Canada, and all of a sudden we would have Republicans jumping out and saying this is a big cover-up for Benghazi.
I know that some Republicans are going to try to go there, but that's just nonsense. That's never going to fly. But I want to come back to the FBI. So the way this whole thing got started is this Jill Kelley in Tampa, who's getting these emails, she doesn't know whom from, saying, you better stay away from my boyfriend. She has a friend who's in the FBI, and she tells him, I've been getting these ugly emails. And he starts an FBI investigation. I mean, Jesus, this is not what the FBI, in my opinion, ought to be doing. Yeah. Right? They got more important things to do. This does go back to the J. Edgar Hoover days when they were that's all they were doing, were investigating sex lives of prominent people. So he starts this investigation. It goes on. They discover the emails are coming from Paula Broadwell. They discover she's having an affair with Petraeus. She admits it. He admits it. And then an FBI agent goes to a Republican member of Congress, not to the White House, not to the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee or the House Intelligence Committee, to a Republican member of Congress, a guy from Washington, forget his name. And then he says, you better go to the House leadership. So then the guy goes to Eric Cantor, of all people. Yeah. What the hell?
Not John Boehner, the speaker, which is where you would take something like that.
Eric Cantor. It seems to me...
Because we all know Eric Cantor actually runs the House.
We do know that, right?
But apparently this person did too.
To me, there's no other reason than to go to Eric Cantor, other than you want to use this as a political football against Barack Obama. And that's what they were trying to do.
Well, it just has to make you wonder if this is just if this is what we saw in the second term of Bill Clinton, where the Republicans now, we had a Democrat win re-election, and here we go with with our efforts to impeach the president, as Dick Morris said on election night over Twitter, let's impeach the president.
So my questions about this is, what's the FBI doing in this in the first place, and why did the White House not know, Dianne Feinstein not know, Pete Hoekstra, the head of the House Intelligence Committee, not know, but Eric Cantor did?
Inexcusable.
I mean, who's in control of the FBI? Nobody, apparently.
Yeah,
right?
Well, and I think also, just not comically really, because there's not a lot that's really funny about this, but the fact that the DCI, the Director of Central Intelligence, can't keep this, can't keep an affair under wraps, kind of makes you wonder how good of a spy he really was.
Good point, because they did go to Clapper and they told him, and he said, well, let's just keep this.
But this isn't what we need to be talking about, I feel like right now.
We will talk about what this election means coming up next. Take your calls at 866-55-PRESS. And Peter Welsh from Vermont joining us at the half hour.
This is the Bill Press Show. This is the Full Court Press, the Bill Press Show, live on your radio and on Current TV.
Breaking news on several fronts here on the Full Court Press this morning, 25 minutes after the hour. Eric Burns is here as a friend of Bill, and we'll get back right back to the issues of the day. But first, times are tough for millions of American families, and if you're one of them having a hard time making ends meet at the end of each month, here's something you ought to consider. IncomeAtHome.com. They are America's leading work-from-home business. You've heard me talk about them before. Doing business in over 80 countries. And this is something you can do, folks. No matter your age, education, or experience, you can literally earn money on your own laptop from your own kitchen table 24/7. So if you're sick of living paycheck to paycheck, worried about job security or retirement, if your goal is to earn some extra money from home part-time or full-time, then this is certainly something you should check out. IncomeAtHome.com. They're adding my listeners in record numbers, even giving away $1,000 to somebody just for checking them out. To do so, visit IncomeAtHome.com. That's IncomeAtHome.com. So, Eric, it was a week ago President Obama re-elected. It seems to me, the more you look at this victory of his,
Yes.
the more impressive it is.
Absolutely.
Won the popular vote by 3.5 million. Mm-hmm. Had a 126 vote margin in the Electoral College, 332 to 206, and he won 8 out of 9 battleground states. Lost North Carolina by less than 100,000 votes.
Yes.
So
It was a thorough victory.
There's a message
it was a
there.
mandate. It was a mandate, I think, victory. It was a mandate victory.
I agree, but there's this clear message there. The American people knew who Romney was, knew who Obama was, and knew who Romney was, knew what Obama's agenda was, and knew what Romney's agenda was, and they made a choice.
Absolutely, and you can see it. You can see it play down too through some of the Senate races and the Senate pickups. The Tea Party was rejected, and the Tea Party politics of the right, I think, were just thoroughly rejected in this campaign. Several of the key Senate races, we had Tea Party Republicans that lost very badly in states that they weren't expecting to, and I think that was a theme throughout this.
All right, so now the question is, does President Obama deal from strength as he pursues whatever the issue is, fiscal cliff, tax reform, entitlements, global warming, immigration reform, whatever the issue is?
Absolutely.
Does he deal from strength or?
Absolutely, he's got to deal from strength. I mean, look, this is his own version of he's like the comeback kid here, right? I mean, these guys threw everything, the kitchen sink and everything else at him. Let's not forget the Glenn Beck and all the posters of Obama and whiteface,
Right.
and the horrific racism that we saw and the threats of violence. He's come back from all of this, and they see, America says yes, we trust this man to run this country, and he's got to deal from strength.
I agree.
Got to deal
The president's
from strength.
got to know he's got the American people behind him.
It's up to the Republicans to actually to demonstrate that they're big boys and girls, that they're not poopy heads, and that they can actually compromise.
And recognize that the American people have endorsed President Obama's agenda. That's what they want.
Yes.
And as he said the other day in the White House, now's the time for action. So let's see it. And we will find out some inside news about the fiscal cliff negotiations.
This
Peter Welsh from
is the
Vermont.
Bill Press Show. Chatting with you live at current.com/BillPress. This is the Bill Press Show, live on your radio and Current TV.
Here we go, 33 minutes after the hour on Tuesday, November 13. It is the Full Court Press coming to you live from our nation's capital, brought to you today by the Communication Workers of America, the good men and women of the Communication Workers Union under President Larry Cohen. They are the union for the information age. Indeed, you can find out more about their good work at cwa-union.org. On this Tuesday, big day for Washington, D.C. At 10 a.m. this morning, both the House of Representatives and the Senate reconvene after, I don't know, I think it's been a 7-week absence, mainly focused around most of them running for re-election. One member handily re-elected in the state of Vermont, representing at large the state of Vermont. Congressman Peter Welch back in the studio with us this morning. Congressman, congratulations, and it's good to see you.
It's great to be back.
I'm glad the people of Vermont did the right thing here.
They did. Senator Sanders did great.
Yes,
and
indeed.
our governor did great. So yeah, we're all back.
You had a good night in Vermont.
We're back to fight for single payer.
Yes, good. That's where we go from here. And Eric Burns from Bullfight Strategies here with us as a friend of Bill in this hour. Eric, always good to have you too.
Oh, so great to be here with both you guys.
So, Congressman, the big issue, of course, everybody's talking about the fiscal cliff, and John Boehner seems to be saying, no, we know what the American people said, and we're ready to compromise. But is he really?
We'll see. Show us the money. I mean, that's essentially what it boils down to, because what he is saying is the right thing. You know, the election was about two things, I think. One is people want us to work together because they know we have to in order to get things done. Mm-hmm. But second, they want revenues to be part of the solution. They really want it. And what Speaker Boehner is saying is that there's maybe some tax code changes we could make that would provide some revenues. But the problem with that is that it really doesn't add up. That's essentially what the vague presentation was of the Romney campaign.
Right.
And in fact, the deductions that he was going to eliminate would be things that would whack the middle class pretty hard. So if that's where they're at, we basically do have to ask Speaker Boehner, where's the money? Show us. Be concrete and specific. We're past the campaign. I'm pretty skeptical that we will be able to reach an agreement. I say they because this will be negotiated by the president and the leadership. But I have my serious doubts about the practical possibility in the next couple of months, less than that really, that they'll be able to reach an agreement that's eluded them for 2 years. So I think we may well be into January. And in fact, that may be the better way for us to go to get a deal that works and is durable for the American people.
So you are saying you believe we will go over the fiscal cliff?
I do think that. I'm not advocating it. I mean, the best proposition is for us to reach an agreement. But I'm skeptical. I mean, when Speaker Boehner says he heard the American people, but once he starts getting specific about revenues, then all hell breaks loose in his conference. So will he be able to do that now? I have my doubts. If he doesn't, it's not the end of the world, because we come back in January, we put a bill on the floor to lower tax rates, because January 1, the rates go back to the Clinton-era rates. We put legislation on the floor to give a tax cut to middle-class families, 98% of Americans, and that takes care of the revenue side of the equation. We would still have very difficult negotiations on spending, trying to squeeze the Pentagon a little bit. They've got to make a contribution to the debt reduction. And obviously, anything involving Medicare is going to be a very contentious debate.
But also, if we go into January, the sequestration will have kicked in. So these across-the-board cuts in the Pentagon and domestic programs will also have begun.
That's right. So there's a high-risk situation here. But and let's hope they're able to reach an agreement. But what I don't want us to do is basically blink on the essential component of revenues just because we're fearful of the January 1 date.
Right.
And so, Congressman, can I just ask, do you see there being a likelihood that everybody will just kind of kick the can down the road with a continuing resolution or a delay of sequestration?
That's my fear. Yeah, because that's what we've done in the past.
Yes.
Okay. and it's like habit. It's habit forming, and it's not going to get us anywhere, and we know that. And that may be convenient for the politicians, but it's not going to be constructive for the country. Yeah. So I actually think we've got to reach a durable, substantial resolution on this.
And it will be hard to work out. I mean, you're here this week, but next week is Thanksgiving, so you're gone next week again. Then you come back for another couple of weeks, and then Christmas is here. So you don't have a lot of time.
That's exactly right. And also keep in mind that the framework of discussions for the past 2 years has been lower taxes. That's what Boehner has been pushing. The Ryan budget actually lowered taxes for rich folks, increased them on the middle class. They boosted Pentagon spending substantially, and then they smashed domestic discretionary spending. The Ryan budget did cut a lot in domestic discretionary, but it increased the debt by $6 trillion. Okay, so there have been no discussions where the framework was a balanced approach, where you had revenues, where the Pentagon was making a contribution, and where the Democrats had to make some concessions on domestic spending. So that framework, I think, is starting to emerge as a result of the people speaking in this election quite clearly. That's what they wanted. But then you get into the very contentious details. Can you work that out in 2 months when there's been no preliminary discussion? I'm a skeptic that we can. Hope springs eternal.
And again, it is a lot less than 2 months. It's probably,
a lot less. Oh, yeah.
probably 3 weeks of working time.
Right.
If I may, Bill, I mean, I think that brings up a big question. Why isn't Speaker Boehner saying that I'm going to keep the House in session until, between now and the end of the year, until we can come up with a deal on this? And will the Democrats come out and say, hey, we need to have more time here in Washington to make some progress on this deal and not just be essentially in session for 3 weeks? Not that I want to take your holiday away from you.
You mean you want us to do our job?
Well, I mean, far be it from me.
You're right.
Well,
no, you're right. We went home without a farm bill.
Yeah.
I mean, this is outrageous. The farm bill is something that Congress has to act on every 5 years.
And you sit on the Agriculture Committee.
That's right. And it's tough. It's contentious. But you know what? It's our job.
But your committee passed it, right?
That's right.
And
Bipartisan bill.
Right. And went to the floor, and Boehner wouldn't even bring it up for a vote.
They would not bring it up for a vote. It's the first time bill in the history of Congress where the House Agriculture Committee has passed a farm bill, and the House leadership has refused to put it on the floor for a vote.
Because?
Well, they say they don't have the votes. When, I was working with Kristi Noma, South Dakota, and we're saying, hey, you know what, put this on the floor, because then each of us has to vote yes or no. And then we have to be held accountable.
Right.
There's a lot of bad things in the Farm Bill and a lot of good things.
Yeah.
And people have a point of view.
Sure.
But you know what? The one thing we can't defend is no vote at all.
Yeah, well, this is the same kind of stuff when I worked on the Rules Committee in the House when DeLay was, majority leader, that we saw from the Republicans all the time. They would just stop bills and rules and bury them because they didn't have the votes to win.
All right, I want to come back to the tax issue for just a second because I want to clarify a couple of points. First of all, so what Boehner is saying, as I understand, and the Republicans, and Mitt Romney was saying this, we need new revenue, as long as it doesn't come from raising taxes.
Right.
And we are going to get all the new revenue we need by closing loopholes.
Right.
And now, what loopholes? Does that mean the mortgage interest deduction is going to go?
They won't admit it, but it would have to. In other words, the only way you're going to get the kind of revenues...
So the number one tax loophole or tax advantage for middle-class families in America, they're willing to throw out, rather than raise taxes on the wealthiest of Americans.
Yes, and the other one that would be in the line of fire would be the health, the health insurance deduction. So it would be things that would hit the middle class quite hard, and it effectively raise middle class tax rates. So that's the non-starter. One of the things that Romney did talk about that may have some merit is to limit the deductions at the high income.
Right.
Give everybody a certain amount of deductions on, say, capital gains, so that a lot of small-time investors would make some money.
17,000, they've said, or 25,000, whatever it is, some number.
But that has some potential.
Would that add up to?
It would not.
No.
But it would help, but it wouldn't add up. But that was something advocated by Romney. But there's a lot of resistance in the Republican conference. So the point here is just even in our little conversation, you're seeing how difficult things get once you get specific and concrete.
Sure.
So Speaker Boehner said the right things, and I, by the way, happen to think that Speaker Boehner would like to make a deal.
I agree with you too.
I think. He's my view. He's not the problem.
But does he have the power? Is the question.
But does he have the power? And then it's exactly right, Eric. Because you remember the super committee was negotiating, and that's when Speaker Boehner and the president came close to the grand bargain, $4 trillion. And frankly, that was hopeful in my mind. And then when he came back to his conference, he was, history on that.
Yeah.
On the Romney idea, the front page of the New York Times this morning, Democrats like a Romney idea on income tax, and they're talking about that as part of the solution.
As part of it.
And finally, before we take a break, Congressman, so I was at the White House Friday when the president said, look, there's a bill that has passed the Senate. So tax rates are going to go up for 100% of every American taxpayer beginning of the year, unless we do something. Well, there's a bill that's passed the Senate which will give a tax break right now, keep taxes low for 98% of American people, those making under $250,000 a year. doesn't deal with the 2%, the 98%. That bill has passed the Senate. It is now in the House. Will the House pass that before the end of the year?
If it comes to the floor, it will pass it. Absolutely.
Enough Republicans would vote for it.
Can you imagine them not voting for a tax cut?
No, I can't,
Okay,
but they're idiots, some of them.
So we've got
they're Tea Partiers.
This is a decision that Mr. Cantor and Mr. Boehner make to bring it on the floor. It's passed the Senate. The president, as he mentioned, has the pen. By the way, Bill, that means a tax break for 100% of Americans.
Yes.
Because if you're a millionaire,
thank you.
You're going to get your tax break on your first $250.
Up to $250.
So we're not leaving anybody out.
Yeah,
all right?
Good. Yeah, good point. Congressman Peter Welsh from Vermont here in studio with us. Your call is welcome. Join the conversation. Eric Burns, still here as a friend of Bill, 866-55-PRESS. And don't forget, in the next hour, we're going to be meeting and talking to members of the White House Fellows Program, a very exciting program. You get to meet some of them right here on the Full Court Press.
On your radio and on Current TV, this is The Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show, live on your radio and Current TV.
Jesus, and I read about her after.
12 minutes. 12
You know, we're starting here, Congressman. If you could please stop.
We always have a good conversation during the breaks. Hey, it's 12 minutes now before the top of the hour. And again, next hour devoted to the White House Fellows. Here in studio with us, Congressman Peter Welsh from Vermont, back in town with his Republican and Democratic colleagues. Eric Burns here as a friend of Bill. So, Congressman, you are a member of the House Oversight Committee. Will you be holding hearings into the latest sex scandal, the FBI, General Petraeus, and now General John Allen sex scandal?
Well, I don't know. That'll be up to the chairman. But, you know, there's an interesting question. Aside from just the sort of tawdry scandal component of it.
Well, love triangle.
The allegation is that there were like 30,000 pages of emails between General Allen
This is the latest,
and Jill
General
Kelley.
Allen, right?
Yes.
And
Jill Kelley.
Yeah.
Here's the hearing I'd like to have. Who was in charge of the war? I mean, what is going on if a general,
Thank you.
a general services officer, is spending that much time on the computer talking to a woman in Tampa who's married and has a couple of kids? So who's in charge of the troops?
Well,
I mean, that's actually something that is totally baffling to me.
Right. You know, and also the idea to me that when he was in Afghanistan, now we've been told that their affair did not start when General Petraeus was in Afghanistan, but that Paula Broadwell, his biographer, is over there in Kabul for a year and has complete access to him, following him around and the whole thing. Again, think of that distraction from when he was supposedly running the war, right?
No, yes. I mean, and actually, you know what? That's the more serious question here. Obviously, there's the military code of conduct, and General Petraeus is all members of the military are answerable to that. But you know, this war, we've had serial generals. We've had 11 different commanders in Afghanistan in 11 years. There's no continuity. You know, can you imagine Eisenhower being replaced because a year was up, and that happened just before Normandy? I mean, there's a lackadaisical quality to the leadership structure where you have this constant turnover of generals. And I think it's shown in Afghanistan. And I think there's got to be some real self-examination on the part of the military as to how they have been structuring their leadership particularly in Afghanistan.
No, good point. Can I also ask you, as a member of the committee, maybe to suggest to the chairman there's something else you should be looking into?
Yeah.
What the hell is the FBI doing investigating sex scandals? And why would the FBI go to Congressman...
Cantor.
No, before Cantor, they went to another Republican from Washington State, Dave
Reichert.
Dave Reichert. They went to Dave Reichert from Washington State, told him about this, and he says, you know, you ought to talk to the House leadership. So they don't inform the White House. They don't inform Pete Hoekstra, head of House Intelligence. They don't inform Dianne Feinstein, head of Senate Intelligence. They inform Dave Reichert and then Eric Cantor.
Well, Reichert's a former sheriff.
Oh, well. Okay, well, that explains it.
That explains it. Yeah, seriously.
Well, you know,
Joe
it suggests
Isn't
there was
the
an
FBI
agenda.
out of control here?
It really suggests a real agenda on the part of whoever that FBI agent was. As I understand the story now, that Jill Kelley had a friend who was in the FBI.
Who was in the FBI, so they started
and then
an investigation.
What was his
Yeah.
agenda?
Right,
Because you have a
exactly.
pal, that doesn't necessarily mean you get the
Thank you.
investigation that you want.
Thank you.
Well, and what did Eric Cantor do with that information, and what should he have done?
Well, he went to Robert Mueller, apparently, to make sure that Mueller was it. But it looks like that guy had an agenda, which was,
Right.
here's something
Yeah.
maybe you can use. This is in October.
Right.
We just found out that Petraeus is
An
having
October
an affair.
surprise.
Maybe you could use this against Obama in the election.
Right.
Right?
It smells a lot like that.
So politics might very well have been sex and politics, man. I got to tell you.
There's a lot to talk about.
Quickly,
People
I want to
never
play
learn.
a quick clip from your colleague, Senator Sanders, yesterday on MSNBC about what should be our focus right now on, not Petraeus, but on the fiscal cliff negotiations.
And we've got to come up with a plan that is fair, a plan in which the Republicans understand that their proposals during the campaign to extend tax breaks to the wealthiest people in this country is not what the American people want. So there's a big debate on this. I'm confident that we have the American people on our side who want deficit reduction, but want it done in a way that is fair.
Amen, right?
I'm into Bernie. You know, that makes sense to me. I think he's dead on.
And I think
You've got to have that balanced approach that we're talking about. It's got to include revenues. And that, there's going to be some pain all around on any kind of ultimate agreement that we reach. But if there's a significant benefit, like that's why 100 of us wrote to the super committee, 40 Republicans, 60 Democrats, said everything on the table, go big, $4 trillion. If there's enough benefit, then it will herald what happened during the Clinton years when he did that very tough budget that raised taxes and cut some spending, all right? And it was very painful because the Republicans wouldn't cooperate at all, and the Democrats had to do something. It was tough to do. But the upside was enormous. 20 million jobs, 4 years of surplus. It set the foundation, and that's kind of where we're at now.
You got to go big, and as Eric and I were talking just before I came in, Congressman, go bold, because the president won. He won decisively, and now's the time to just, go. And the American people are behind him. Great to see you, sir. Thank you so
Bill.
much for coming
Eric,
in.
thank you.
Great to see you.
Hey, Eric.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, everybody. Okay. Friend of Bill, welcome back anytime.
I'll be back in tomorrow then.
President's got a... well, not that fast. President's got a busy day. We'll tell you all about it when we come back.
This is the Bill Press Show.